Thank you for joining us on the RP Experience. I'm your host, Andrew Regenhardt, and today we have Miles Griffin, one of our top producing agents within Naples Real Producers. So we're excited to have you on here, Miles.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So Miles is a top producing agent with the agency and has been there since 2021. For Miles, real estate has always been in his life. As a kid, Miles watched his father and uncle operate a family business, which was a real estate developing company. Miles later decided to join the family business in the early 20s. But after his father retired, Miles was kind of at a crossroad and decided on his next move. And Miles worked for a private club for nearly 7 years. But after experience in the service industry, Miles decided to get back into real estate. So today Miles focused on helping his clients by paying attention to detail and implementing the highest quality of service. He's a man of quality over quantity. In 2022, last year, Miles closed roughly 10 transactions for $30 million and keep continuing to growing and moving upwards. So huge volume per transaction, which is remarkable. So we're excited to have you on here, Miles, and we're pumped to hear a little bit about your journey within real estate. So let the listeners know a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, so my name's Miles Griffin. Obviously, I'm from Naples, Florida, and I was kind of raised in the real estate world here. I'd seen, all the ups and downs of that over the years, and that was really kind of enlightening. But also, the reason why it was always my goal to get into this business. Originally, it wasn't necessarily to get into the sales side of it. I thought that I was going to, pick up where my family had left off and go down that road. But they had retired shortly after I had joined them, and
you're like, what the heck? We didn't talk about this timeline together.
put me in the crossroads where I had to figure out what I was going to do, and I was young, so there was an opportunity to go work at this private club, which was actually, attached to a building that they had been involved in called Mariah Bay, and it's called the Club at Mariah Bay. So, I took the opportunity. I said, all right, great. I got, some time. I need to do something, so I'll go do that. 8 years go by or 7 years go by, something along those lines. And again, I'm at a crossroads where I'm like, I'm not good at this. I'm a bartender. I'm not a good bartender, but I'm really good at customer service. The clients love me. Yeah. They're great people, all that stuff. So it was really my wife that was kind of like, all right, you got to figure out what you really want to do. You're either going to, do the real estate thing or work at the club forever.
Right.
So I made the leap. I said, I'm going to jump into this real estate thing full time and just see if I can leverage the relationships that I made through working there at the club and turn it into a successful real estate business.
Yeah. What year did you jump back in?
2019. So at the end of 2019, I joined Denny Bowers' team, who I'm sure you know Denny.
Yeah, great guy.
And he's a great guy, and he's been a long time friend of mine and our family. And he gave me the opportunity to I guess get into it at the company he was at.
Kind of learn the ropes with him.
Learn the ropes, which to anyone getting into real estate, I highly recommend finding someone that's like a mentor. That was a huge help. So that's kind of how I got into it. I quit the job. I jumped in full time, probably sooner than I should have. But again, it was either I'm going to do this or I'm not going to half-ass it. Basically, I'm going to go for it. And started reaching out to those customers, those clients, those people that were members at that club. That was my goal was I'm going to go after these people, and
that was your kind of your farming area first.
Yeah, for sure. I have these relationships that I built over that 7 years or 8 years or however long it was, and I know them all. I know their families. I know their dogs. I know everything. Everything about them. Yeah. So there's a level of trust there. Maybe I can somehow get business out of that, and that will be my start. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. I had been doing it for a couple months with Denny, and doing all the things they tell you, reach out to your sphere, all that stuff. And I got a call from someone that was an old member there, and they had been trying to sell their condo for about a year, I think, and without success. So they called me and said, "Hey, we're thinking about, making a change of direction. What can you do? What can you do for us?"
Mm-hmm.
And the conversation was basically, "Hey, I'm new here. Like, I'm new at this, but that's gonna give me the opportunity to dedicate all of my efforts to you."
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, you're not distracted. You don't have a ton of other clients.
sure,
Yeah.
and I think they understood. I was pretty adept at giving a certain level of customer service, and they appreciated that. So, that was the opportunity. Was okay. We're going to give it to you.
Nice.
So go for it.
Nice.
And it was successful. We sold it, and that was kind of like the jump off point. Like, okay, we had a big listing, a big sale. Let's leverage that into the next. And
that's awesome.
that's kind of where it started, and now we're here.
So, discovered through your article and knowing you and whatnot. You had mentioned you had one of your first listings. Was it the first one, or which one was it when you got to help out with Sean Hannity?
So that was the very first one.
Tell us about it. Like, how was it?
That was the one I just kind of described.
Okay, I didn't know if that was the one or not. So
yeah, that was the one. And really, I think the best way to describe that situation was the fact that.
Were you nervous?
No,
because you already kind of knew him, right?
And to be honest with you, in a situation like that, it wasn't like I wasn't directly working with him, every day, because he doesn't have the time for that stuff.
Right.
But it was, I got a phone call from his wife, from the business manager, saying, and I had a relationship with him as well through the club, and it was, we're gonna change direction on this listing, and we understand that you're doing this now, and we like you, so we're gonna give it to you.
Yeah.
And we built out a presentation and all that stuff to show them what we could offer. And at the time, I was with a different company, what the company could offer, and they loved it, and they went with me. And it was a little nerve wracking though, because it's your first one. It's big. It was in the ballpark of $6 million or something, and you're like, man, they trusted me to do this. Like, I need to perform. So
you kind of downplayed just so you know, like, for most people that are not in real estate, he had an extra zero on the back end of what most people's first deal are. And that would be a big deal. Most people do a $200,000, $300,000 first deal, and, a $600,000 would have been big, but obviously $6 million. And then for it to be, what people would say a celebrity too, which is probably nerve wracking, but obviously you crushed it and you sold it. And so that's huge.
Yeah. Extremely lucky in terms of like the number,
Hold on. Everyone says lucky though, but you dedicated 7 years, right? And you put in the time and the effort for a relationship, right?
Sure.
You didn't know what was going to, obviously you were hoping on some tips at that time when you were serving them a drink and you were, doing your job, but you didn't know what it was going to come from it. So everyone says lucky, but you were there, you were in the right place, you were putting in the work, right?
Well,
so.
Yeah, there's a saying about luck. It's when preparation meets opportunity, and that's luck. I didn't know at the time of me working at the club that was my preparation, and to be honest with you, there was times in that when I was working that job where I'm like, man, this sucks. I hate this. I'm over it. It was fun in my 20s, I was not married at the time, and there was nothing really weighing me down, so it was fun. But you get to the point where you're like, I gotta be able to do something else. Like, this isn't it,
Oh, I hear you.
But then you realize after getting something like that, making a transition, building this business, getting a client to trust you, that none of that would have happened if I didn't stay in that job for as long as I stayed in that job, because over those years, that's how I built that relationship. And that's really where I build my entire business off of that strategy. Is it starts with the relationship, and then we go from there. And the most important thing is the relationship. I don't want to ever jeopardize that, and that's kind of where I think the next key to where my success has been is being honest with your clients, being open, being fair, being open to criticism, constructive criticism, all those things, because that's what they expect from you, and out of everything they really expect that.
And these successful people, especially in the dollar price point that you're doing, they've been around, they ran businesses. They expect it because they've also been doing it themselves,
Sure. They live up to a high, I guess, I don't know what the word.
Moral compass,
but
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
What do you think? So obviously within the real estate developing company, like your father's real estate and your uncle being involved in that, and you were part of it in your 20s, right? But then you got out of it. What do you think the most valuable lesson you kind of learn from working with your family at that company that kind of, I guess, helped you now within the business you're doing now?
I think there's definitely a few. And I would say lessons learned from that would be, the value of collaboration. Because in the world of development, it looks like it's this one person or this one company and they're building out this like community, right? And behind the scenes, there's so much collaboration going on. And really the art of putting together, any deal, whether it's a real estate transaction or it's building a community, right? Like you need to have the ability to collaborate with people to make it successful, whether it's, mortgage people, photographers, anyone. So that would be one big lesson. The other one in terms of sales would just
Wait, I want to dive into that one a little bit because I think it's probably underrated in a lot of people. Like I feel like people like to place blame. The people like to bring up other vendors or this and that. I mean, if you're building a home, you're working with a builder, and the builder has 80,000 whatever subcontractors and this and that. But like that's why you're working with the builder. If I'm working with you as the agent, right? You're the representation for me, and you're handling all the moving points, right? So that's huge. I mean, from my business, I see that a lot, right? Like I want to make sure like it doesn't matter what it is, they can go through me for all the kind of the key points. So you're saying you learned that from an early on is like you have to be the liaison or the point of contact for all these moving parts, and you got to keep them kind of going, huh?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, you have to be the point of contact, and you're really the trusted source for providing all of those collaborators right into a deal. So yeah, that would be one big one. And then again, on the side of like just selling, my dad was kind of like he was like in charge of the sales. He was the marketing guy, the sales guy, and he was really, really good at it. He taught me that the number one thing for selling is to build urgency, and that's how you get people to make a decision, right? So if you're selling, what he was selling were condos, but on a large scale. You had, building with 120 units in it. Like, how are you going to convince people to buy them, and not wait to buy them? So you would work on pricing strategy. You would say, here's the price pre-construction. It's 20% off of what it's going to be in 6 months when we're under construction. So you better reserve now. And then at the next point, you say, well, you missed that opportunity, and we're going to increase the prices again here. So
Right.
Don't miss the opportunity again. So there's urgency. So people say, okay, I don't want to miss it. The deal looks good. People are buying them. Let's put a deposit down at least, or let's put a reservation down. So, that translates also into just general sales with residential real estate. If you're selling a condo, and
you kind of got to make their decision for them. Like they're interested, they're excited, what they like, right? But you're like, people like to drag their feet a little bit.
Sure, but it's really they've told you what their goal is. They want to purchase this or they want to sell this. So how do you effectively accomplish that goal, right? How do you effectively accomplish that goal? And sometimes, it's a little bit of an outside push to say, hey, this is the deal you want. This is a good deal. Let's find a way to get it under contract. Let's find a way to, get yourself in on it. Or if you're selling, this is a great buyer, and what they're bringing to the table is, a good, fair deal that I think would be, like an easy close type of situation. And you don't know the unknown, so you have this in front of you. How can we build the urgency to get you to accept it?
Right.
Without saying, well, people probably argue with some of these things, strategies and stuff like that. But
and they always think their way is right.
No, of course,
right?
and sometimes they're not wrong. But I just believe I believe that we have a job to, work in the client's best interest and help them accomplish the goal that they have contacted you about, buying or selling.
Yeah. And perform that.
And perform that. So, if you're not doing that, if you're saying, let's say you're selling a condo or a house or anything, and someone brings you a great deal, and the client says, well, I think we can get a little bit more, right? It can be detrimental to say, you know what, you're absolutely right, when you may be right or you may be wrong, but what you have in front of you is solid. So, I think that if that accomplishes the goal, there needs to be an open and honest conversation about it and say, hey, I know it might be a little off, but it's a great deal. I think you should take it.
Right.
And if you have a good relationship and they trust you, then, you succeeded in accomplishing that goal of helping them sell their place.
And it's not guaranteed that another one's going to come. And, that could be the best offer that they ever get. And then on top of that, if they drag it out, that's more time that they're sitting on the property, they're paying taxes, doing all this other stuff too, which is going to cost some money too. So it's interesting.
Actually, I'll say one more thing about that. One of the things I always tell clients, and this is, I guess you could say, an urgency builder, is if, let's say, again, back to the scenario, we're selling the property, we have a great offer close to the price or close to what they're looking for. A question that I always ask my clients, and this is something, again, it goes back to learning from my dad, something he taught me. I always ask them, would you buy your property, would you buy your home today for that price? And 99.9% of the time they say, no, absolutely not. So, well, if you don't take that offer, you just bought it for that price. So if you don't take that, $7 million offer, then that money could be gone out the door, and you just essentially bought it, right? Because you don't have that money now. So, it's like a little brain trick. But
it's like, wait, what do you mean? But it's like, oh, I see what you're saying.
Because you wouldn't pay that, so it's a good deal.
Yeah,
right?
And if you don't take that, you're now owning it for that price.
For that price.
Yeah. Even though you already own it, but still.
Even though you already own it, but it's a mental trick.
It's
right?
a mind game. I love it. So you're at the agency. Obviously, they have the great name behind them, and they're down here, and it's Chris and Kara there, right?
Yep.
And great people. And you had mentioned that it's obviously not a big company, but it gives that boutique feel. So tell us a little bit about it and why you enjoy being there and holding the license there.
Yeah, when I left the Denny's group, which was a really big decision for me because it was me kind of going out on my own and being a new agent. It's like leaving the nest kind of deal.
Started to fly.
Yeah, right. Like, it's being in a group like that when you're first starting out is incredible. You have so much, like especially Denny, he offers so much. But I was approached by by Chris and Kara and the people that were going to bring the agency to Naples, and they kind of pitched what they're all about, and I was immediately sold. They're great people. One, Chris and Kara, if you know them, they're great people. And then the other partners in the office is a guy named Blair Chang and his wife Leanne, who's a Naples native, and Blair is one of the co-founders of the whole company with the guy named Mauricio and a few other agents. And their whole mantra is like, it's an office built by agents, for agents, and their number one goal is to collaborate and work together and grow everyone's business together, right? If you're in an office where no one wants to collaborate, it's really difficult. So that was a huge selling point. It's a great environment. Their number one rule is no assholes company wide. They'll tell you right when you have your first meeting with them.
Yeah.
They'll say, I don't care if you sell $200 million a year, we'll fire you if you're an asshole.
That's funny.
That's their number. And they have hats and t-shirts and all
core
that
values
stuff.
Right there.
Core values, and they really stick to that, They really do believe that. So, it's a great environment. The company actually is a big and growing company. They're new here in Southwest Florida. But they're huge out west, and now they have offices internationally, and it does give that boutique feel. They do. I think they're number one in average sales price per transaction at like $2.5 million is their average sales price company wide. Which for me being quantity over quality over quantity.
See, I screwed it up earlier.
Yeah.
Sorry, I
No,
set
you're
you up
good.
for that one. I said it earlier.
No, but yeah, the quality over quantity thing is kind of where my business, not by design, but just where it's gone. It kind of fit. Like I feel like I fit there, right?
Right.
So yeah, it was like an instant fit. I didn't go and interview with any other office, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I got contacted by them and met with them and was like, yeah, I'm like, where do I sign? I'm done.
Feels at home, right?
Yep.
So you're still, I mean, obviously you're in real estate back in the 20s and you got out of it. So you're still new, right? Like in the grand scheme of things, right? And so give some advice. What's a single point advice to a newer agent that's kind of just getting started?
I think that the best advice I can give to a newer agent, because I am a newer agent. I mean, I've had my license for a very long time, maybe 12 years or something like that, but I wasn't necessarily using it.
Just hanging there, just sitting in the back pocket, right?
I left school to do the development thing, all that stuff, and now I'm here selling general real estate sales. But I think the best advice I can give from my own personal experience is that you need to just dive in full, and that's tough for a lot of new agents because usually there's a financial restriction. You need to have some solid income coming in, and most people are waiting for like something to get them to a point where they can quit their job and they go full time. But
like that big deal, they're like, I just need one big deal.
You see it all the time, but in all reality, I think that that's unsustainable to be. Anyone that does this job or works this business knows that there's no such thing as being part-time. Even if you're like me, where you do 10 transactions a year or whatever, like it takes up all of your time.
Right.
It takes up all of your time. And yeah, I would say, go for it full force.
Go all in. Jump in the deep end.
Yeah, jump in the deep end. I mean, that's the advice I was given by a good friend and mentor was, take the leap of faith and just go for it. And if you fail, you fail. And if you succeed, then you succeed. But, you'll never know until you really go and try your hardest to do it.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Love it. So where do you see yourself in the next 10 years? What's Miles going to be doing? I mean, congratulations to set it off camera, but congratulations, married and got a little girl on the way. So obviously family's in the horizon, very, very soon. Right. But what else? Even within your career?
Yeah. June 11th is the due date.
There we go.
I'll be a dad for the first time.
That's awesome.
A little baby girl.
Nice.
And definitely family has always been a priority to me. And even more so now to know that you're going to become a dad. But that, the next thing is the career, because you have to provide for your family and give some sort of stability. So, my goals for the next 10 years, it's really hard to say. I know that I want to stay in real estate. I know that in the future I want to move more towards development again. It's just always, since I was a little kid, watching stuff be built. It's what I wanted to do. But, I don't know how long I'll keep doing what I'm doing. I don't know when that will be. But, yeah, that's kind of the big goal right now, is just keep growing the business as I'm growing it. And at some point, I'm currently looking for opportunities to do that now. But who knows when the right thing will present itself. So
love that.
That's the goal.
Love it. Well, great, Miles. Well, unfortunately, we're already at time. It flies by, right?
Yeah.
So I just want to say thank you, Miles, for jumping on here with us and joining us on the podcast. It's been a great time. Great wisdom was shared. So we just appreciate you coming on here.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to come on and be in the magazine and all that stuff. You guys are doing a great thing. So appreciate it. We want to bring the community together. So for sure.
Thank you to Venture X here. We're in the podcast studio. As always, RP Experience is super thrilled to have you on here, and we're here and in the podcast studio. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next episode. So we'll see you guys soon.